And welcome to the March episode of Cheap Shot Cinema.
Woo! Yeah.
We were going to do this like 2 weeks ago, and then life happened, and so we pushed it out until now. So,
You're welcome.
Yeah. As adult men, we have other things going on than just watching movies and recording stuff for your ear pleasure.
Hey. Speak for yourself. All right?
Don't say ear pleasure again. That's weird.
Yeah. No, you liked it. You laughed. All right. As normal, my name is Zach.
I'm Mike.
And I'm Ben.
Apparently, you guys forgot what your names were for a
Usually
second.
you introduce us on the first part, and we say our names on the last bit.
You know
Apparently
what?
you forgot what we usually do.
Exactly.
I'm sorry, guys.
Zach?
That's my bad. All right, to the news. As normal, the news really isn't newsy, I guess. I don't know what I'm going at here. I'm going to touch on like two things that I want to dig into a little deeper, and then we'll go into our new kind of game bit today.
I'm
and
excited.
Just so you viewers know, in case you want to know what's happening later, we're going to go in later to, what was it? Movies that we think could have been done better.
Mm-hmm.
So we kind of review of what we dislike about the movies and then go into what we think could have been done better on those movies. So that's coming up later. But right now, first thing I want to get into is the Ghostbusters trailer was released this last week.
Yes, it was.
Yes, it was.
And to very, very mixed reviews.
You
I
could
had
say
at
it
least
busted out.
3 people on Facebook that were like, hated it. It was stupid. It was ridiculous. And I watched it, and I'm trying to figure out like why it's getting so much hate right now. Because I think it doesn't look spectacular. It looks like a comedy, action, middle of the road type of movie, which I would expect it to be. That being said, I'm not the hugest fan of the original Ghostbusters. I don't dislike it by any means. They're good movies, but they're not in my top 10 by any means. So what are you guys thinking?
Well, I mean, Zach, you and I both watched the original Ghostbusters very recently. And
Yes.
I think that the main difference that people are probably mad about is that the original Ghostbusters was more of a horror or thriller. It felt like, at least,
Wasn't,
where
though.
it had comedy bits in it. I mean, obviously, if you have Bill Murray or people like that, they're going to inject some kind of comedy into it. But now it feels like it seems like with the cast stacked as a comedy cast, and just the way that the trailer was cut. I mean, who knows how true to the whole movie the trailer is going to be. This is obviously the first trailer that we've seen, but it feels more like a comedy, and it feels like it's straight towards that kind of comedy, maybe a little bit more action than the first one. So I don't know. I just don't know what people were expecting. I was fine with the trailer. I'm just kind of waiting to see the next one and see what else we've got from this movie before it comes out. But I mean, honestly, I don't know. I didn't expect it to be that 80s nostalgia or whatever decade it came out in. I think it was 80s, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, it's not going to feel like that, obviously, because it's set in current day, and it doesn't have Bill Murray. And Bill Murray, I thought, was a very strong influence on the movie as a whole, and obviously it's going to feel different. So I was fine with it. I'm not excited about it, but I was fine with the trailer. There's nothing crazy bad. Ben?
Yeah. I've never seen Ghostbusters, the whole
Oh,
thing.
wow.
I tried watching it, and I thought it was terrible, so I stopped. Could have been my mood. I just wasn't a fan. With the trailer, it was all right. Didn't really blow me away. Again, never having really seen Ghostbusters, it still felt like Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
They had the tech. They had the premise of ghosts are coming. They're trying to stop them. It seemed more somber, but then also tried to be funny. So it kind of was like, we're trying to be serious, and then we're trying to be funny, then serious and funny. And again, it's hard to tell off of a first trailer. Sometimes they just don't capture the feel of the movie, and they make another trailer. Like, oh, I'm actually excited for this. So
Yeah.
we'll see what happens.
Well, and I think the other thing that we have to worry about is, I mean, a la Gem and the Holograms. You know, if you make a Ghostbusters reboot, then you're partially catering to the old Ghostbusters fan base. You know, and then to a certain extent, you're also marketing to some new people. So obviously, the newer generation will recognize Kristen Wiig or any other main actresses. Yeah, exactly. You know, Kate McKinnon. There's plenty of people on the cast that you can. I mean, even Chris Hemsworth. You know who that is. But to a certain extent, you are trying to cater to the old Ghostbusters fan base, and obviously that hit with mixed success. So I can see where people would be disappointed. Yeah.
I just think when you make the argument that, the original Ghostbusters was more of a horror and not a comedy, I just look at like Bill Murray, Dan Aykroyd, Harold Ramis,
It's true.
Rick Moranis, all started in comedy.
Mm-hmm.
As far as I know. Maybe not Harold Ramis, but I'm pretty sure. Well, obviously Bill Murray and Dan Aykroyd, they started out in SNL. That's where they both got their big breaks. And maybe as adults now, watching it as a child, you thought it was scary, but it's not a scary movie. So that in itself is, you're taking your childhood wonder and placing it onto a movie now, and it's misplaced, in my opinion. So I think Ben brings up an actually really great point of, as an adult trying to watch the movie, not really interested in it, because I can see that. Same kind of thing with Jurassic World. Is I loved Jurassic Park as a kid, partially because it terrified me. Watching Jurassic World, though, obviously, there's a few jump moments, just a little bit of jump, but I'm not scared of that movie, but I didn't go into that movie with the expectations that this movie's going to scare me. I think it's just correct expectations, knowing what the movie is. I think it will be a perfectly fine movie. I don't think it's going to be anything spectacular. They're definitely not going for any awards in this movie.
What?
So whatever. People can disagree with me. I think the trailer wasn't a great trailer. We're not talking Suicide Squad trailer, which the second Suicide Squad trailer was one of the better ones I've ever seen.
So good.
That was a great trailer.
Great trailer.
Really well done.
And so, but it's a different kind of movie. It's going to be primarily humor based, I would have to bet, with a little bit of action, maybe a little bit of, horror, but it's not going to be anything special. What was the second thing I was going to talk about? Oh, something Mike posted, I believe, on our Facebook page the other day about 21 Jump Street Men in Black crossover.
Oh, yeah. I read about that a while ago.
Yeah.
How do they think that's a good idea, and how are they going to cross those universes realistically?
Yeah, that's the thing, is that, when the Sony emails leaked, I think that was the first time that we heard about that crossover. And I was with you. I was just like, I heard about it months ago, if not a year ago.
Yeah, it's been a
and
while.
It was just like, I don't think they're going to do that, are they? But now they're definitely doing it. So it's just weird to think about. They almost had who are the two guys who are going to be directing the Han Solo movie?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
But yeah, they were originally slated to be directors. I think they're now bumped to producers because they don't have time. So I forget who's directing it now.
I'm not sure.
But man, it's just okay. So
I feel like you're just gonna straight up ruin one of the two, and it's probably gonna be the 21 Jump Street franchise.
Yeah,
because. What are you going to follow that up with? You're going to follow up with another standalone 24 Jump Street, and I'm going to sit there as a viewer and going, that guy's an alien, and just be like, this is stupid.
Unless they just memory wipe everyone at the end, and that's how they sort of reset it. Like, oh, it's terrible. Well, they start 24 Jump Street.
Unless they
everyone,
memory wipe me as a viewer, it still doesn't work.
Right. Well, what I'm saying is, like, if they decided
that's what they do
to
in Men in Black.
they decided to do a 24 Jump Street, like, it starts off with them being memory wiped, and they go back to doing,
Tried to do that with people. It doesn't work.
Oh, yeah, of course it doesn't. But
I tried Jedi mind tricks, and that doesn't work
exactly.
either.
Yeah,
Actually,
it's just a weird.
On automatic
pairing.
doors, the Force does work if you get it just right.
It's true.
It's true.
I hope to impress
The
someone
hand
one
wave.
day.
But yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see how they put those two things together, because, I mean, for one thing, Will Smith and Tommy Lee Jones are not coming back to do it.
No.
So it's just like, how do you even start to integrate the Men in Black portion of that into it? It's like, what is there left to bring back? The dog, maybe?
Well, they're trying to revive that series of movies
Right.
because nobody has any ideas anymore.
Right, but that's the thing. Kind of like what we're talking about with Ghostbusters. Like, to a certain extent, I feel like you're going to be trying to mash what's left of the 21 Jump Street crowd, which is actually fairly good. I enjoyed the last 22 Jump Street?
I believe so.
I thought it was fairly funny. I never saw 21 Jump Street.
I like
but,
both of them decently.
But, to a certain extent, then you're going to also try to get the Men in Black crowd in there. And I just don't know what you're going to pull from that universe to be like, all right, this is now tangible in the 21 Jump Street universe as well. How do you do that? Do you just comedy bit at the beginning of the movie where you just beam them up and be like, yeah, we need you in space now?
They're both action comedies. And
Yeah, they're both like buddy cop kind of movies.
Yeah,
but
so
so completely different. I don't know.
It's like I said, I feel like you're just gonna ruin one or the other. It's such a different universe. I mean, 21 Jump Street is yes over the top in a lot of action sequences and just general, and same with Men in Black, but you're going to over the top of aliens exist.
The only thing I can think of is because 21 Jump Street, they're going undercover both times, right? Like
Yeah.
in school or college. So
Yep.
maybe they're going undercover, but like no, they're going
As
undercover amongst aliens or something. Like that's the only sort of correlation I can see.
I would
So,
just love
actually,
Ice
there,
Cube.
There it is. Actually, is the Men in Black recruit Jonah Hill and Channing Tatum to go undercover as aliens at like an alien high school or something like that.
Is that the actual plot?
Nope, that's
would
somebody
be
can pay me
amazing.
for that. Zach Clark. I live in New Brighton, Minnesota.
Can I get half of that?
Ben gets half.
No, what they need to do at the beginning of the movie is have Ice Cube like take off his Ice Cube costume and he really be the dog or something like that this entire time.
Oh, he's
That'd be
Frank.
hilarious. Yeah, I would love that.
That would be
But yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see what the heck they do. I'm interested to see how that pans out. I'll be keeping my ear to ground on that one, but it's just I don't know how they're going to do that.
Yeah, someone somewhere thought it was a good idea.
I've
It's
never
gonna go
heard
money,
of
so.
like.
Literally no more good ideas, guys. That's just what this is.
Can
coming
you
down to.
guys think of like any two established or like at least established in the past and faded now franchises coming together like this in one movie?
Not in
Yeah.
movies.
No.
Simpsons Family Guy just did it
No.
on television, and
No,
that was terrible.
that's like an episode.
I'm just
we're-
saying.
Yeah,
I'm just
Yeah.
saying, crossover
yeah,
universes.
that's fair.
Yeah.
But in movies, hey, good chance for you guys to email us if you can think of something.
Well, yeah, and that's the
Our
thing is
6
that
listeners.
you could have like a Flash and Supergirl crossover or Arrow or something like that. But that's completely different because that's all within the DC universe technically, and these were never intended to be together. And now they're just gonna put them together and see what happens.
I think
feel
it's a
like-
terrible idea, but that's
I
just
feel
me.
like we should think about like other movies. we
Leave
can
your
mash
comments
together.
in the section below, the comment section on the YouTubes. All right, we're going to go into a new bit. I'm calling it Shotgun.
Shotgun.
Because we're cheap shot cinema.
Yeah, that works. That's fine.
So I'm just going to go through
I'll allow it.
a bunch of different either ideas, movies that are coming out, whatever. And if you are interested in it or you like it, you'll allow it. If you're disinterested, you don't think it's a good idea, you're going to deny it. So I'm just going to start off. We're going to go with theories.
Ooh.
Theories to start with.
All right.
There's a theory going around right now that Baron Zemo in Civil War is actually going to turn out to be Red Skull. The theory is very loose, but basically they're saying we haven't seen any of Baron Zemo in any of the trailers or anything like that. They think they're trying to hide a little something here from us. What do you guys think of the validity of that idea?
I'm gonna deny that. I think that. I mean, it's definitely possible that Red Skull is still alive. Obviously, he kind of got ejected into space in the first
Didn't he
Captain
get
America movie.
disintegrated by the?
Well, no, he got kind of. It looked like he got transported
Yeah, he
by
got-
the
By the
whatever gem that is. That the space gem or what?
No,
what gem is that?
That would have been the Tesseract.
the
Which,
Tesseract. Yeah,
Yeah,
like
which-
he got
which-
teleported like
which
Thor
one is
kind of
that,
does.
though?
That's the blue cube.
Yeah, but which
what-
gem?
Oh, I don't know.
It might
Leave
be the
in the
space
comments
gem.
below.
I don't remember. I knew at one point, but so it's obviously it's possible, but at the same time, you must remember that he is technically a human and he got ejected into space. So complications
They
seem
never
to
went
have.
into detail though on how Loki came back.
Yeah.
like that was always
That's fair.
weird to me. Like he fell
Loki's
off
a
the
trickster.
time bridge.
Loki's a trickster.
But give me backstory on that then. So show me one quick clip that actually wasn't him falling. He was behind
Yeah.
Thor, something like
Well,
that.
I deny that theory because of two things. Number one, Baron Zemo and Red Skull are two definitive, pretty decent bad guys in the Marvel Universe. I don't think that they're going to combine the characters into one. I think that's a waste. Number two, I feel like if Red Skull comes back at all, he's going to come back in the Infinity War stuff for whatever reason. But I don't think he's coming back personally. I think they might have ejected him just to make sure that they had the ability to come back if need be. But I honestly don't think that he's coming back at all. It would surprise me if he came back from another movie.
I think it's been a big mistake by Marvel in general to kill off as many villains as they had.
Well, they need to do a good job making villains first, then they can kill them off.
Yeah. So, Ben, do you have any thoughts?
I don't really know a lot about Baron Zemo, to be honest. I think Red Skull could come back though, because he got transported out. Red Skull. I think he could come back. In Infinity Wars would probably be a good idea, or somewhere, because that beam thing that happens is kind of like how Thor or anyone else goes up when they call on the Rainbow Road or whatever.
We'll call it the Rainbow Road.
I hate that track.
When
I always fall off.
When the black guy, Idris Elba, what's his name? Shoot, not Balder.
Idris Elba. Yeah.
Is it Balder?
Heimdall.
Yeah, when Heimdall like beams people up, it looks very similar.
Yeah.
So he probably got transported.
He's just hanging out
somewhere in some negative zone, some prison on some island or universe, something. I don't know.
Negative zone.
Yeah, he might be in the negative zone.
Well, like something similar to that, like some prison where they keep people.
I hope they don't put the negative zone in there, because that'd be super complicated.
I'm also gonna weigh on this. I'm also denying it. I think it's too complicated.
Shotgun.
Viewers are stupid. And I think that's too complicated.
Why waste a character?
Yeah, and that's the thing.
If you got a unique one, why make someone else?
If you aren't into movies or into comic books, you have no idea who Baron Zemo is. You probably don't even know that he's in Civil War just yet.
That would be an argument to do it, though, I think.
I don't think so. I mean, they're bringing in Crossbones. I mean, he technically was in the last Captain America movie, but, he's technically going to be like a different persona now, so...
Well, he got crushed by a building, so that will...
Apparently didn't stop him.
That will annoy most of us, I would say. I don't know, put me into a homicidal rage.
His bones got crossed.
I see what you did there.
Nice. Second theory.
I think I get a point for that one.
1 point to Mike.
Mike gets a point. He argued the best. You guys are just obsessed with the point system here.
I just want to beat Ben because he beat me last time.
It's true.
So, when the Batman versus Superman stuff... I've talked to Mike about this before. The general idea behind this theory is we're still in the Christopher Nolan universe here, because Christopher Nolan is a producer. He was a producer on Man of Steel, and he is now. So the theory has lots of different ins and outs, but the general theory is that Ben Affleck is not actually Bruce Wayne's Batman. He's Slade Wilson's Deathstroke Batman. Bruce Wayne as Christian Bale is still alive in this universe and just hanging out in Europe somewhere. So Slade Wilson saw this void that he took up and with the cowl, and then that Jared Leto's Joker is actually basically not a reincarnation of the Joker, but took the idea of Heath Ledger's Joker and just made it ridiculous. So basically took it, and that then Jared Leto is a former Robin. Jason Todd, a lot of people have been throwing out. So, a lot of stuff there. In your guys' opinion, what is the likelihood that any of that has any validity to this movie?
Ben, you want to go first? You want me to take it?
You take it. Yeah, I've never heard of Slade Wilson
which
being
one?
Batman
Which one
before.
was Red Hood?
Or
Is that
Slade
Jason
Wilson.
Todd?
Jason Todd is the Red Hood.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which one's Nightwing?
Dick Grayson.
Okay, sounds good. So I buy that. I don't buy any of that. I deny all of that. I think that what I'm gonna allow is that one Robin has been killed, and another Robin is going to be the Red Hood. So I think that probably the Nightwing Robin was killed, and then well, no, I don't know.
They've only theorized that Nightwing could
yeah.
be in this next movie. It's never been confirmed.
Right. They're also theorizing that the Red Hood might show up as a villain later. So I don't know. I don't buy any of that, honestly, because number one,
it just seems too complicated.
Especially in everything is going. Yeah, exactly.
They had information to back this up, but we really don't have time to get into that.
I think I'm gonna deny it because, you know, in the trailers and everything, he's Bruce Wayne, and he's not Slade Wilson. And I do think that it's going to mess up whatever kind of, you know, connection that the audience has with the story. If you're like, oh, this actually isn't the Batman that you remember. This is a different Batman. I don't think they're going to do that. They're going Justice League. I think they're going to stick to the roots of the character and just say, this is Bruce Wayne's Batman. He's a little bit older now, but he came out of retirement because crap's going down. So I don't buy and I also buy that that's the actual Joker. I don't think that they're in Christopher Nolan's universe anymore. I think that they did a hard restart with Man of Steel, and now they're doing the Justice League, and they're just moving forward with that. The Batman movies were great, that trilogy especially, but I think this is a new reincarnation of the same Batman. Ben?
Oh yeah, absolutely. It seems way too over the top to even be in Christopher Nolan's
It's a
universe.
cool theory. I love the theory.
Yeah, it would be, again, one, just too complicated to follow. Like, people want to see Bruce Wayne be Batman, not Slade Wilson.
Right.
People don't even know who. I mean, some people do, but
You
the
could
general
also bring
audience.
Deathstrike later.
Yeah, Deathstroke is an awesome character.
Deathstrike.
Deathstrike.
Lady Deathstrike.
Anyway, yeah, shotgun. I don't.
He's gonna
that's
deny it.
Deny.
Shotgunned.
I'm gonna deny the vast majority of it. Actually, I'm gonna deny all of it.
No.
But I do think there's a possibility. I get the feeling that this Joker's origin is gonna be
Different.
a little more concrete than what we've seen in the comic books, because the comic books are all over the place. The comic books have something like between 6 and 12 different origin stories for the Joker. So, and it's like in The Dark Knight. Do you want to know how I got these scars? That's how the Joker is throughout the
no
comic
one really
books,
knows.
because they keep telling stories about him. Like he's this. I think there's going to be something a little more concrete on this Joker. And I think there's a very good possibility that it's going to have to do with Batman's past at some point in time. So I would say probably not a Robin, but it would not surprise me at this point in time if they did come out and they didn't do the typical Robin timeline like we've seen with Dick Grayson, Jason Todd, and then Damian Wayne.
Yeah.
So
I don't know. I feel like you're maybe taking a little bit away from the Joker character in the movies as well. I mean, obviously it works for the comic books. Great. It's a great bunch of story arcs. Batman story arcs are some of the best, in my opinion, yeah. But I think that just coming out with the original Joker character and just being like, oh, this is a little bit different than the Heath Ledger Joker, that's fine. You know, we'll get over it eventually. But to have him be the basis of the Suicide Squad and everything like that, you know, probably a reoccurring villain for films to come, I think I don't think they're going to actually convolute it and make it something that it doesn't have to be. I think they're going to stay simple.
I think that's the biggest problem for me too, is it's too complicated.
Yeah.
It's too complicated. I mean, the fans would go freaking, like, the comic book fans would go nuts, but everyone else would do,
What? Huh?
Yeah.
Where's Bruce Wayne?
Anyways, moving on. So we're going to speed things up a little bit. I'm going to go into like some movies that are coming out and different things like that. All right. Kong Skull Island, King Kong Origins, starring Brie Larson, Tom Hiddleston, Sam Jackson, John Goodman. Go.
Really?
Yep.
I did not know that cast. I'm going to sell it, or deny it. I think that, I mean, the cast sounds amazing. That's the first time I heard the cast, but I just
Brie
like
Larson just won Best Actress.
Yeah, and we all know about Sam Jackson and who else? Tom Hiddleston. Yeah,
and
that
John
sounds
Goodman.
amazing.
There were a couple others, but
I don't
those
like
were the
John
big
Goodman.
ones.
He was in the fourth Transformers movie. But I love that cast, but I'm gonna have to deny that. I don't know, just Godzilla kind of being a letdown to a certain extent as far as story is concerned. I don't know if they can put together a compelling story for Godzilla.
For King Kong.
Denying it. Yeah.
King Kong.
Yeah.
said
Sorry.
Godzilla.
Sorry.
Where'd
Yeah,
you go on
not
Godzilla, man?
I liked Godzilla.
Well, hey, they're
That
gonna
was
have them
great.
fight eventually, right?
Apparently.
How? Does
I
King
don't
Kong
know.
just get bigger? Because I guess I never saw the original, or not the original one, but the one with Jack Black.
Maybe he's like climbing on him. It'd be epic.
Maybe.
That'd actually be kind of cool. Yeah, I'm denying it.
I'm gonna say let's go for it. I don't know a lot of those. I know some of them. I haven't really been following King Kong, but yeah, shoot, giant gorillas fighting other things. Sounds great. Let's do it.
I'm also going to deny
Except-
that just because Peter Jackson one was terrible in my estimation.
I actually kind of liked it.
The only Andy Serkis was the only good part of
Yeah, he
that.
was
and
great.
Got eaten by slugs or
And
whatever those were.
he played that dude plus King Kong.
Yeah,
That was amazing.
that's because he's amazing.
Yeah.
But anyways,
Actor award.
I like the cast. I like Tom
It's a
Hiddleston.
great cast.
I really actually want to see that movie Brie Larson's in. I think
Room.
it's just called The Room.
Yep.
Room.
Just Room, not The Room. The Room is that other one.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, that terrible one.
Tommy
Yeah.
Wiseau. Yeah.
Anyways, yeah, I'd like to see her in that. She looks awesome. So but no, I'm not really interested. It's gonna be a CGI hot mess. I would guess, and not for me.
I don't want to cry.
I will watch it, but not super interested. Moving on. 10 Cloverfield Lane. You guys generally know what it's about. It is not a
Gosh darn.
Cloverfield sequel
Directly.
It's in the same general universe, and that makes me nervous. So go.
Ben?
I never saw Cloverfield.
Have you seen the trailer for this?
I have. I liked the trailer. I thought it was a good trailer.
Do you know what the original Cloverfield movie was about?
Some monsters and people were like filming it. And they're like, there's monsters.
Yeah, he's basically got it.
And
like, but we don't ever see them. And it's shaky cam.
from what
we
we
see it a little
understand,
bit.
the original Cloverfield, based on some really quick footage at the end of the movie, we see a meteorite hit in the ocean just outside of New York City, and we think this monster
Spoilers.
generated from that. Watch the movie more closely, nerds.
So you're asking me about
Well, Ben's never
Cloverfield
seen
Lane,
it.
if it's going to be good or what's the
Well,
question?
what do you think about it? Based on the trailer, are you interested?
Yeah, I don't normally see that kind of movie, but I thought it was a really good trailer.
It's coming out on Friday.
Oh, snap.
Yeah,
that's really
that's-
quick. Like the first part, there's no talking.
Well,
All of a
they-
sudden it just escalates. You're like, what the crap? Why?
This movie was called The Bunker for years, and J.J. Abrams was directing it, and nobody knew anything about
Huh.
it. And then all of
That's
a sudden
ironic,
they renamed
being a
it and
bunker.
released a trailer
I saw that, yeah.
like 2 months within. The trailer only came out like 2 months ago.
Yeah. Mhm.
That's ridiculous.
I remember you yelled. You were like, Mike, did you see this?
I was like, hi!
Hi.
Because
like, holy
that's,
crap.
that's a super quick turnaround. They're obviously keeping
Oh,
this
yeah.
under wraps. They want to do something interesting with it. But
Mm-hmm.
me personally, I'm not going to say for or against it right now, just because it hinges so heavily on how long it's going to be and how much percentage-wise time they spend in that bunker.
Mm-hmm.
Because if it's an hour and a half movie, because I think it's going to be shorter, because the Cloverfield was only like an hour and a half. I think it's going to be a shorter movie. I could probably check that, whatever. But if they spend an hour to an hour and a half in that bunker, I'm going to be bored. Regardless of what kind of reveal they have at the end, it's not going to be enough. So it's really going to depend on the timeliness of that movie.
I think if they spent a lot of time in the bunker, there'd have to be flashback scenes or something to a different period of time when they weren't or what caused them to go underground.
I've seen movies where they've spent a lot of time in Red Eye, for instance, and basically the entire movie's in a plane. That's so hard to do and keep interesting.
Well, isn't there
in
like
that
parts where they're
confined
like on
space.
the ground too, like trying to figure
There
out what's
are parts
happening?
at the beginning and the end, but the vast majority of the movie takes place. It's a thriller in the cabin of a plane.
Right.
So, and that kind of confinement is really, really hard to do. So
It is.
we'll see what happens. Maybe it turns out to be an awesome thriller where John Goodman is the antagonist here, and he's the primary antagonist actually. And then we only get to view. It wouldn't surprise me if they did the entire movie and then they came out and then you see it and it's done. Like that wouldn't surprise me a lot.
Yeah.
Oh, probably.
But
I
I'd
wanna-
be annoyed.
Yeah. I want to allow this so hard because I thought Cloverfield was super fun. I own it. I still
as well.
enjoy watching it every now and then. It kind of made me a little sick in the theaters because it was a shaky cam found footage film. But I had such a good time in that universe. I'm hoping that this is good. But the thing is that I am a little nervous about this movie just being in the bunker the entire time. And like you said, like I hope that there's something completely, I hope that the trailer is like the first 20, 30 minutes of the movie and then we get into some other storyline. Because if it's just going to be this claustrophobic, kind of tense drama, the majority of the movie, that's not what I'm looking for in this movie. I'm looking for at least a little bit of a monster movie. So we'll see. I want to allow it, so I'll allow it. But I don't know if it's going to hold up. We'll see. I really hope it does.
I wouldn't see it in theaters unless
I'm gonna
I
see
heard
it in
was
theaters.
really good.
Batman vs. Superman getting an R release on Blu-ray.
Deny it. I wish that they would just
Deny that they're doing it or denying the
they're
idea?
I think I allow that they're going to do it. I just don't think they
happening.
should. I think they should make the movie they want to make and put it out there in the theaters and let that be. I don't really like this.
If it was left up to Zack Snyder, I firmly believe that would be the case. But
Yeah.
it's not left up to him. It's left
Yeah.
up to the studio.
Well,
and
he's
the studio
done
wants to make money.
ours before. Yeah, like 300 obviously is a
300
Yeah.
Watchmen,
Yeah.
Sucker Punch are all R-rated
exactly.
movies.
Yeah.
Sucker Punch R? I thought that was PG-13.
Yeah,
pretty
Sucker
sure
Punches
Sucker
are.
are.
Yeah. As far as I remember, yeah, it is.
Huh.
Yeah. But I'm just, I'm kind of in that Deadpool shell-shocked area where I'm just like, don't make it R unless you want it to actually be R. So I feel like this is a little bit more in reaction to Deadpool, and
Oh,
I
it's
don't
totally- it
and I
totally is.
don't like that. Make the movie you want to make, put it out in theaters, let people decide if they like it or not. And that should be it. I'm not a big fan of director's cuts when they're not just like extra footage like in Lord of the Rings, so we didn't bore the rest of the non-nerds, out there with the finished product. So
PG-13.
I'll allow it.
Sucker Punch was
Sucker Punch
PG-13?
PG-13?
Really?
Oh, yeah.
I could have sworn it was R. Yeah, there you
Yeah.
go.
I'm going to allow it just because I agree
You would.
with the idea that you should make the movie you want to make. That just doesn't happen. The reason I read this recently, the reason Christopher Nolan consistently makes awesome movies is because he comes in under budget every single movie he's ever made, and he actually gives money back to the studio to make sure he controls the creative process.
That's cool.
Because the second you go over budget is when the studio comes in and goes, nope, it's ours now. And they start doing the things that they want to do. And that's when stupidity ensues. And we get characters like Jar Jar Binks, which that wasn't the studio's fault. That
it
was
was a Fan Four
completely,
stick movie, yeah.
that was completely on George Lucas. But the Fantastic Four is a great example of that. So that's why I'm saying I just don't think, and not that saying the reason this is happening is because Zack Snyder's going over budget. I think it's happening because they're trying to reach the broadest audience.
Oh, yeah, especially with a Superman and Batman.
Yeah.
Yes.
You have to,
I mean,
so.
you can't make that an R because you're losing so much in regards to kids. The difference was for Deadpool is Deadpool. They're not marketing toys to children for the Deadpool movie. They're not doing that kind of stuff for the Deadpool movie. You can prove me wrong, but I haven't seen it. But merchandise for Batman versus Superman is a huge profit maker.
Oh, yeah.
And so I'm perfectly interested in doing that. And it's not because I want to see more nudity in language, but I think,
You want to see naked Batman?
yeah. Wouldn't mind.
It's got to be bloody violence. That's got to
Yeah.
be what it is.
That's
Well,
what it's going to be. It's going to be more violent, and that's what I've always wanted to see in superhero movies. I've said it before, I'll say it again. Wolverine not cutting people's arms off and such is annoying to me when he's fighting people.
Oh, yeah. And I read that article, too. I'm fine with having a red band version. He talked a lot about it being just like more intense, too. Just certain scenes. Because it's R, it's not just violence. It's just intensity as well. Because Batman can be super intense. And we've seen with Superman in the last movie, he can be pretty intense.
He's Batman.
So, I mean, the movie will still be there in theaters. And then think of it as like a director's cut. That just so happens to be rated R.
So you allow it?
I allow it. Oh,
All right.
absolutely.
Fair
If I can
enough.
get more awesome action from Zack Snyder, shoot,
enough.
I'll take it.
I have more of these, but we're just going to do last one because I feel like we're going long. But
Sorry.
The Dark Tower, based on Stephen King's dark fantasy western series. Rumored stars is Idris Elba as the main character, the gunslinger, and Matthew McConaughey as the main antagonist, the Man in Black. I'll start because it seems like you guys don't have a lot of information on this. Super, super excited. This series, I need to read the entire first book. I've read about half of the first book, and it's a sci-fi western. Pew, pew. It's the feeling is, and I'm sure people who have read it know more about this, but the feeling is like you're almost in a ghost type of world. In this, gunslinger is on this mission to find the Man in Black and go to the Dark Tower. And it's really intense and awesome and mysterious. And you have this cool old westerny vibe with a twist. And
A twist.
The twist is
like a
Channing
thriller-
Tatum and Jonah Hill are going to
So
be in there.
Shyamalan's going to direct
a
it, right?
thriller
thriller.
twist to it. And I think the casting is perfect. The original gunslinger is typically viewed as being white, but don't care in the least. I love Idris Elba and
Oh,
pretty
yeah.
much anything that he does. And Matthew McConaughey, I think his chops as an actor are just continuing to grow, and I think he'll make a great villain. So I'm super excited. I think this could be our next big series, like sci-fi series type of thing. So this could be it.
Yeah.
I'm super excited.
Yeah, I've heard numerous people have told me that the Dark Tower series is definitely worth reading, and it's been on my to read list, so I'm excited. Yeah, I was under the impression that Idris Elba was officially doing the role. I mean, it might be rumored or talked about. Like I always thought.
I don't think he's like actually signed the paperwork or anything like that, but it's strongly considered that
gotcha.
him and McConaughey are in.
the roles. Yeah, 'cause things can always change, but yeah, sure. I'm always down for more Idris Elba and sweet science fiction westerny type movies.
Yeah, I know next to nothing about the Dark Tower series, but like you said, Ben, I've heard amazing things about it whenever I've heard it mentioned before, and I'm allowing this just based off of McConaughey and Elba being the two main leads. Done. I'll take it.
Yeah,
That sounds amazing.
agreed. I think those two
Shotgun holstered.
could do in any type of action thriller.
Yeah.
I would go see it.
Yeah,
Basically,
basically any movie that has them two as the leads, I'd go see.
yeah.
Yeah.
So moving on to our main topic, we're going to talk about movies. We're going to do one each. So if you did more than one, we're going to do one each of movies that we just think fell short. Whether or not they were box office busts or actually made decent amount of money, whatever you guys wanted to choose from, just for some reason did not hit with you, and how you think you can improve it. We're going to go around, we're going to name off what we're doing, and then we can go into more detail. I'm doing John Carter.
Sounds good. I'm doing the Hobbit trilogy.
I'm doing Minions,
Ooh, there you go.
Minions. The new Minions?
the Minions movie.
The Minions movie?
The Minions movie.
Okay. All right. I'm going to start it off. John Carter has been something that me and Mike have argued with several people about, of how it did not live up to it. One of the biggest box office flops of all time. This movie
All
cost
time.
like $250 million, and it brought in like under $100 million
I'll check it.
worldwide or something like that. Just huge flop.
Wasn't Gods of Egypt worse than that? It's brought in.
So
Well,
far, yeah.
Gods of Egypt could have been worse than that, but I'm not going to see that, so this really doesn't
So far,
apply.
Gods of Egypt is worse, yeah.
Okay,
So-
but just okay. Well, absolutely.
So to start off with, and you guys can pop in whenever you'd like, the casting, when you do a movie that's $250 million,
That's a lot of money.
in US grossed 731, whatever, that's a low.
It grossed $73.1 million in the U.S. during its theater run. However, internationally, it took in $211 million.
So it still came under its mark worldwide.
Yeah.
So that's still not good.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't know what they look for, but I think they typically look for to get it back in domestic, which is U.S. and Canada, and then
It
you know,
allegedly cost Walt Disney $306 million. So,
yeah.
Holy
Yeah.
crap!
So this is what I'm talking about. So you make a movie that is based on a fairly popular book, and you cast it with your main people. Just lack of star power is what bothered me here. Taylor Kitsch is the biggest name on there as the main character. And can you guys, anybody listening, think of what you've seen Taylor Kitsch in? I can name a handful of movies just off the top of my head. Battleship being one of them, which I didn't see.
I saw it.
I got to
And
see it
he
from
was
Twitter.
in Lone Survivor with Mark Wahlberg.
Huh.
And Friday Night
Yeah,
Lights.
Friday Night Lights. Yeah.
He was also Gambit.
Mm-hmm.
All terrible. Well, actually, Lone Survivor was good. I don't know about Friday Night Lights. So you cast him as the main character. You cast Lynn Collins as the secondary character, who the only other movie I'd ever seen her in was also Wolverine, X-Men Origins Wolverine. She's Wolverine's girlfriend. And then there's no one else. Bryan Cranston you have in the movie for like 10 minutes.
That's right. He was in the movie.
Mark Strong. I actually like Mark Strong, so I'm not going to complain about that one. But it's just the lack of star power is disturbing to me on that big of a budget movie. My suggestions were Chris Hemsworth as the main character, and you put Olivia Wilde as the main girl, basically, and then was trying to think. I put another guy as the villain, but it's not super important.
Side note, I think Lynn Collins could have played Wonder Woman. I remember watching that movie. I'm like, oh, she could be Wonder Woman.
Who?
Lynn Collins, the
Oh,
female.
the female lead.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Anyway, just thought I'd put that out there.
Don't disagree with that. I think they did a good choice with Gal.
I've never seen Gal in anything, so we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see.
I saw Lynn Collins in something. John Carter.
There was too much CGI and too much bad CGI, in my opinion. Nothing looked real in that movie. Nothing. It was
Episode 1, basically.
Yeah, it was episode 1. I've heard it compared to that pretty frequently. The biggest problem for me is the writing, though. Overall, the writing was sloppy. There was a lot of convenient. John Carter gets out of prison, and then he happens to come across the cave that he's been searching for years while escaping, after he escaped prison, while he's under being arrested again. Like, there was a scene where he's fighting guys, and his sword gets knocked out of his hand, and there's only one person around him, which it's the girl. I just remember names on this.
Who, Lynn Collins?
Yeah, Lynn Collins. I don't know what her character's name was.
I
She's
don't
the
care.
only person around that is with him, and she happens to catch the sword in the air and then start killing people with it, which I thought was super
Stands to
convenient.
reason, yeah.
And just
Smart.
Anytime-
anything can happen.
Girl
Anytime-
catches a sword, she's going to kill people.
anytime Taylor Kitsch
Wonder Woman.
talks, I just shudder because I'm like, I don't believe you in the slightest, and what you're saying is just stupid. And just on and on and on. John's strength fluctuates pretty drastically throughout the movie. At one point, chains, like pretty basic chains, hold him. At other points, he goes from jumping like 20 feet to hundreds of feet in a bound, and then he can't fight off a handful of guys in one scene, and then he literally kills hundreds of guys in a scene later in the movie. It's like, okay, we need to get this organized a little bit. And then at the end of the movie, there's like 4 times where they monologue instead of just killing each other. And that's on both sides. Like, the villains and John Carter are like, oh, I got you now. Nothing happens. And then they get away. And then the movie ends, and it's annoying to me.
They had to spend that budget. Give the actors more screen time. What will they say? I don't know. Something.
I'm sure I had other stuff in there, but I mean, that pretty much lays out. The writing was, in my opinion, by far the worst offense, but you couple that with poor CGI, bad acting, and a bad cast, in my opinion, it makes for a very poor movie.
Mm-hmm.
That's my opinion. I've had plenty of people disagree with me on that, but I think the box office proves that, people weren't super interested.
Mm-hmm. All right. Hobbit trilogy. Now, granted, this is a movie trilogy that made a crap ton of money. I think they made like $3 billion or something like that, some ungodly number. So obviously it was a success. But in my opinion, it was just a terrible rendition of the book. So I would change a lot of stuff. First of all, it was a CGI fest mess. Okay? If you guys have seen these movies, first of all, the orcs and like a lot of the orcs and other characters look super cartoonish. I hate the visuals in this movie. Even just like the barrel scene, if you guys remember in the second movie, the barrel jumps out of the water,
And
hits a bunch of. It's like a video game.
I'll say
It
I
was
generally
ridiculous.
like that series because I don't take it
gosh.
very seriously. It's just a fun movie
Okay.
series for me.
So
but
they
yes.
set the precedent with the Lord of the Rings. Okay, if they wanted to make this into a kids fest, then they should have done it in one movie. That's my argument, is that they should have made this into one movie instead of 3.
more than one.
Well, and they should have made it more of a character movie instead of this epic action movie trying to mirror it like Lord of the Rings. That's not what it is. It's a kids movie that deals with Bilbo's basically his growth from a hobbit who doesn't do anything in the Shire to someone who is able to stand up to, all the different dwarves that are trying to fight for this crown, fight for this treasure that they wrest away from Smaug. And it's not that kind of a movie, and they really tried to make it, especially a third one, into a huge just battle. If you guys have ever read the book, actually what happens is that Bilbo gets knocked out during the Battle of the Five Armies, and you really don't see any of that battle whatsoever. Like, he gets knocked out at the beginning, and he wakes up, and the battle's already done. They're like, oh, this is what happened. And that's it. So I know it doesn't work very well towards like a
That seems like a cop-out a little bit.
well, that's
He
what
had one book to
that's
tell
what
the
the book
story.
is.
I really don't feel like actually
He had
writing
one
about
book.
this
That's what the
battle.
book is, though. I mean, it's not this
on,
epic war
Tolkien.
movie. It's not. It should be a character study on Bilbo Baggins, or like the dwarves, just kind of the fight for Thorin Oakenshield's heart. When he's trying to figure out if he should fight for his land, and his people, instead of fighting against them for this treasure, or if he should fight for this treasure that he really wants, and he wants to have it for himself and be king. So there's plenty of things to dive into and really flesh out in one movie, not three. And they had to throw in like this they had to throw in Legolas, and then this other stupid romance between one of the dwarves and one of the elves.
I'll allow it.
And then
I like
they put in a
Evangeline
bunch of
Lilly.
random crap from the Silmarillion, and like Gandalf and all those other powerhouses fighting Sauron, the necromancer in that tower. It's like none of that stuff happened in the book. It's all referenced in like the Silmarillion or indices or something like that, but it's not in The Hobbit the book.
Quick question.
Yes.
On that, what is the likelihood we get something along the lines of a movie called Tales of the
No way.
Say the book name.
Silmarillion. Okay, if you've ever read the Silmarillion, in my opinion, it's like the most boring book. It's super boring, but it's not a book that you can make into a movie. It's like
I'm
the
not
creation
saying you
of
make the book into the
Yeah.
movie. I say you take bits and pieces like some of the old dragons and like those powerhouse evil, and you make a movie based around that small idea.
You could make a small movie that's like Tales from the Silmarillion. You could be like, hey, in this year, this happened to this dragon that was, you've
That's all
seen
I'm
like the
saying,
charts. There's a whole bunch of lists of super powerful villains
Dragons
from
and spiders
that
and-
universe. Yeah, there's tons of
Not
amazing
Nazis.
creatures. Parts of it is really cool, but the majority of it is just this creation story of how Middle Earth came to be, and then like how the Eldar, tried to make things work in the world, and how the elves came in, and how they're starting to fade during the Lord of the Rings times, and they need to move to a different land. Anyways, so take out all the CGI, like go back to the roots of what Lord of the Rings actually did. Be more practical
And
with
be
your effects.
Super clever with
Yeah,
your effects.
They should have done what Star Wars did with The Force Awakens. Go back to your roots. Do practical effects. Don't make it this huge, expansive universe. Make it feel like a smaller journey than Lord of the Rings. Make it into a movie, one movie. Be fine with that. Don't delve into the random crap that, like the rabbit trails that the movie goes into, like Tom Bombadil or stuff like that, Don't go into that kind of stuff, just like Lord of the Rings didn't do that, except in the extended cuts. Make it into one movie, make it as small as the book was, and, make it into a character study. So I just think they tried to mirror the Lord of the Rings too much, make it too epic, make too much money off of making 3 movies out of one book. So all that stuff.
The only problem that I have with your idea is I don't disagree with it. I don't hate the movies. I generally
You better
enjoy
not disagree
them.
with my idea.
But I don't think making a character study movie is going to sell tickets.
Probably not, but it would actually be more of a good movie. That's the thing. I didn't think that the Hobbit movies were good movies. I thought that they were cash grabs and they were kind of fun CGI fests, but I own the first one, but it's because I got it for like Christmas or something like that. I wouldn't have gone out and purchased any of those movies and rewatched them at all, if it wasn't up to me. So I would have personally rather had that as a fan of the book or the series. So
Ben?
Yeah, so Minions. Super disappointed with that movie. I was a huge fan of the first Despicable Me movie.
Banana?
Banana? And the second one was, in my opinion, it far exceeded it. Well, maybe not far exceeded it, but it was a superior movie. It was super funny. Loved the Minions in that movie.
I don't know if I would say it's superior, but
I enjoyed it more
liked
than the
it
first
better,
one.
yeah.
They're both very good movies.
My bad.
I agree with you.
And that's my music. My speech has gone too long, even though I just started. Yeah, so a couple things with the Minions movie. One, all the funny bits are the parts you'll laugh the most are all in the trailer. You watch the trailer,
I hate that.
you've seen literally the funniest bits of the movie.
That
and
stinks.
That
I
does
feel
stink.
like that's just most comedies these days too.
I don't see a lot of comedies in theaters, so by the time I see the movie and the trailer isn't really fresh in my mind.
That's fair.
But for what was I gonna say about Minions? Oh yeah, Minions is probably one of the only movies I was about to walk out on. The only reason I didn't is because I was seeing it with friends.
Wow.
That's how upset I was with
Wow.
how terrible I thought this movie was. Now it's made like $1 billion, so people love it. It
Yeah.
was very
Just like
very
The Hobbit.
successful.
Yeah.
So they'll probably make a Minions 2.
They're definitely making a Despicable Me 3.
Oh, I
Hey,
hope so.
They made a Cars too, so
Yeah, they did that, and then they made Planes, and they made Planes 2, and they still haven't made The Incredibles 2.
I saw Planes too.
Oh, bummer.
Yeah, I didn't want to.
I'm sorry.
Planes, Fire and Rescue.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
I'm
trailer
surprised
actually
that even came out in
that
theaters,
trailer
to be
creeped
honest.
me out.
That was boring.
Yeah,
It was not Pixar though.
No,
I
it's
think
Disney.
we got to keep that in mind. But
Oh
Cars
yeah,
was
Planes. Yeah.
Cars and Cars 2 was
Yep.
Disney Pixar.
Yep.
So
Gotcha. Planes. Anyway,
Oh, was Planes DreamWorks? I don't know.
no, Planes
no,
was
it was definitely
Disney.
Disney.
Yeah, it was Disney.
Just wasn't Disney Pixar.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
So they make movies better with Pixar.
Yeah, they do.
they do. I do want to see Zootopia.
Zootopia sounds amazing.
It does look amazing. Unlike Minions, which sucked. First of all, it just didn't need to be made. Like there's no reason for it to exist.
Mm-hmm.
In Despicable Me 2, they drew a very fine line of having just the right amount of minions. Because they're crazy, they're fun, they're wacky, but there's a time and place for them. Like, they never overstay their welcome. It's like, if it's like a movie that has just action, you never get time to breathe, eventually the action is just, you're like, whatever, I don't care. So with the Minions movie, it's just too much minions. It's like watching a subtitled movie, like a foreign film, with no subtitles. Because half the time you don't know what they're saying. You get bits and pieces because they like speak Spanish and English and gibberish, but half the time you have no idea what they're saying, and so it's just super annoying.
That sounds annoying.
It does sound annoying, and the whole movie kind of seems like it's a bunch of sort of 30-second gags that that's what the movie is, just over and over and over and over and over and over and over. And there's humans in there eventually, but they're not very interesting. Like Scarlet Overkill, who could have been fascinating. She's kind of like Mom from Futurama. Great character, but Sandra Bullock's voice acting was just so flat that you never get into the character. Even when she's being like zany over top, her performance is just so boring and so dull that you're never sold on the character. And I thought it was just really lewd, like unnecessarily just gross. Like there's a scene where you see these like practically old naked men like slapping each other on the butts and doing this. Yeah, it's just weird and gross. And it's creepy. I didn't like it.
This is a kids movie.
Yeah, it is a kids movie, but it should have been like PG-13 or something. Maybe
Wow.
the director's cut had PG-13. I don't know.
Yeah, they're gonna make an R-rated movie. pretty
Maybe
soon.
they could.
R-rated minions.
Those
director's cut.
Europeans. Who knows, man? Who knows?
Zack Snyder's gonna direct it.
Maybe.
Yeah, that just to me,
Yeah,
origin
I hated
stories.
that
I
movie.
think origin stories get a bad rap, in my opinion, a lot of times. But that was an origin story that did not need to be made. in my
exactly. There was
estimation.
no purpose. Like a Gru, going back and seeing more Gru would have been fine, but like the
Yeah.
minions, like you just don't. They don't need one because they're just funny and silly.
A young Gru would be kind of fun.
Yeah, and you see Gru. The best part of that movie is you see Gru at the end for like 30 seconds. You're like, yes, this movie's fantastic, and then it's over. That's literally the best part of the movie, minus the parts you see in the trailer.
No. Yeah, that sounds disappointing. I wasn't super interested in seeing it because even the funny parts in the trailers I didn't find to be that funny.
Yeah.
The best part about the Minions is they're just kind of stuck in there at random moments in the background, and you're like, okay, I get it.
Exactly.
They were awesome, but yeah, just like I said, the origin story itself doesn't really bother me. The fact that they've like always been around, but it's just like I don't feel like part of their interest was you're like, what the heck are these guys?
Oh yeah, and it
just
could
like-
easily have been made in the
Exactly.
Despicable movies always come out with like mini movies, and that's a story that could have been told in like
Yeah.
5-10 minutes.
Oh, yeah.
and would have been great.
Yeah.
But they made it into an hour and
Or
whatever.
just I was always under the assumption that Gru like made them
Yeah,
somehow.
that's what I was thinking too. Actually,
So the fact that you're just like that, you kind of cop out too, and like they've always been around. I'm assuming that's kind of what the situation is.
Yeah, this beginning of time, they're like, we're single cell organisms, and they were just like so determined to live that they do, or something. I can't remember.
That sounds
Because they always gravitate to the strongest of the pack and serve them, so they're always sort of protected.
That makes me sad.
Yeah.
Yours out of all of ours made me sad.
The way they fix it, just make Despicable Me
John
3.
Carter just upsets me. Mike's description of actually hearing his description just upsets me as well. But yours just made me sad.
Yeah.
that's what
I'm in
happened.
favor of that short film thing that you were saying. That'd be super funny. Yeah, just how they've let down all their previous masters in the past.
DreamWorks
Yeah,
has
the
done
trailer
that
was hilarious.
Yeah.
frequently
So funny.
in the past of doing like short little bits of stuff.
When they have them on, I haven't seen them, but whenever there's a Blu-ray DVD release, they have like 3 or 4 little Minion movies of like side adventures.
I just saw
And that's
one
a
of
great
those the
place
other
for them
day,
to be.
actually. Yeah, like a 15, 20 minute little Minion movie. Agreed. That probably would have worked perfectly fine.
And they made a crap ton of money, so.
Yeah, obviously. Making money does not make a good movie.
Oh yeah, no, the
mean,
movie sucks.
Some of the biggest blockbusters ever made are not great movies.
Amen to that.
So
Like The Hobbit.
$3
$3 billion.
like the
I had special features on
the
The
Star Wars reboots, 1, 2, and 3. Though I'm sure those made ungodly amounts of money, but they weren't good.
It's true.
All right, so we're complaining a lot today.
You're welcome.
That's the theme of today, and we're going to continue this theme and take a shot. We're going to talk about. So we've talked about movies that were disappointing to us. We're going to talk about actors/actresses, or even you can get directors if you want, that we feel aren't currently living up to their potential or never did, or for whatever reason. It could be ego, drugs, alcohol, general craziness, whatever. Who wants to start?
I got a case of the general crazies. I'll start. Sure, why not? We'll switch it up. My person is more comedian, writer than actor, but John Mulaney is the person because I thought about for a while, and I'm sure there's some actors I can think of, but off the top of my head, John Mulaney's the one who has
I don't know. You might get some
me down.
pushback on that.
Yeah.
Oh, I might. And here's my reasoning why.
All right.
And he's making up for it. Like he's getting back on track. So it's not like he's in the dumps. He's making up for
Well,
it.
then I won't complain.
So it's kind of like I'm not totally disappointed, but just so he was a writer on SNL for a really long time. Had a big hand in the weekend updates, which are hilarious.
Yes.
And then he came out with once he finished SNL, he came out with his stand-up routine, New in Town, which I thought was flipping hilarious.
The diner bit was hilarious.
Yeah, the part about the babysitter, the horse. Yeah,
On Netflix if you guys want to.
Yeah,
check that
I
out.
recommend that comedy. So like, whenever we're talking about stand-up, I will always recommend John
It's
Mulaney
so
because
good.
and it's relatively clean too. Like there's not a whole lot of parts where it gets lewd or dirty. So I can recommend to anybody, and it's one I have been meaning to go back and watch because I find it so funny. So awesome, John Mulaney came out with this super great stand-up. He's got a show coming out called Mulaney, which is he's trying to make Seinfeld essentially. I'm like, all right, sweet. He's a super funny dude. I'm excited for this. One of the worst. I haven't seen a ton of sitcoms, but it is just terrible.
Oh.
Super cliche characters, unfunny jokes.
4.3. God, it has a 4.3 rating on IMDb right now, which is
like it was
Not good.
atrocious.
it was
That's
pulled,
out of 10.
It was pulled from the air.
Did they even make it to the 13?
Yeah, they filled 13 episodes. I think only like 4 were shown.
Okay, yeah.
Because it was just so bad.
Wow.
Like cliche
guys-
characters, terrible writing, wooden acting.
Do you guys remember when the first trailers came out for that? I watched it. I'm like, this looks so awful. And I like Mulaney.
Yeah.
I think his stand-up's great. Some of the best bits in the last like 20 years on Weekend Update were his stuff.
Yeah,
as
he's a
well.
super
So-
funny guy, super talented.
But yeah, I don't buy him as an actor.
Well, I think I could buy him as an actor, and what disappoints me about that show too is Mulaney talks about not a whole bunch, but he's like an avid fan of sitcoms, and he's like, oh, I studied all these sitcoms, and he knows a lot about them, so you'd think he'd know how to make a decent one. I will say a redeeming factor of that show. I forget her name now. Not Masid Parad or Masid something. One of the SNL actors. It's on the tip of my tongue. I forgot. I thought she was actually really funny on that show.
Wait, is it Nassim Pedrad?
Nassim Pedrad, thank
Okay.
you. Yeah, like I
I thought you
think
were trying to think of somebody else. Yeah, Nassim.
yeah. I think that was like one of her roles on a show after SNL.
Yeah.
Hopefully she's on something. I thought she did
She's
great.
recently on New Girl. So
Okay.
yeah,
What?
Yeah, I thought
Yeah.
she was really funny, but
that's
terrible show.
the partner of Winston in the police force.
Oh,
Yeah, that's
yes.
Nassim Pedrad. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh,
Cool.
nice.
Yeah.
Good for her.
So at least
Um,
she's on that. I haven't seen her on anything else since SNL.
Yeah, and I haven't followed her a whole lot.
Yeah.
But then
She's
you know,
been in a lot of randomness.
Mulaney canceled, and then he came out with a new stand-up, Comeback Kid, which aptly named. And I wasn't a fan. Like I didn't even finish it. I'll go back and try to finish it, but I was just waiting for it to get funny.
It
And
wasn't as good as New in Town.
It wasn't.
but
It had some funny bits, and I'll go back and watch it. Maybe I was just at the time again too tired to really like appreciate it or whatever. And again, I'll give it another shot.
Who needs it?
Well, whatever. Sometimes depending on your mood or whatever.
Humans.
But I'm just like, oh man, you're coming back. You're on the upswing. You're willing to admit that you failed at something, and you're coming back. So I hope he picks up steam again, and his future endeavors are prosperous because he's a super funny dude.
Yeah, I actually heard a interview on NPR with him. It was
Nerd.
like a 15-minute interview talking about like his background with watching comedies, and then just like that whole process of failing through his TV show. I was actually a big fan of his new stand-up. I didn't think it was as funny as the Salt and Pepper Diner bit, because that was my favorite part by far out of the New in Town skit. But I beginning to end, I thought that Comeback Kid was a super solid stand-up. So I'd say listen to it again. If you still have that same opinion, that's fine.
I plan on giving it another
I
shot.
thoroughly
It's
enjoyed
fries
it.
for the table. Comeback Kid.
I think so.
I'm pretty sure it
It's
is.
a prize for the table.
You guys want some fries for the table? Get some fries. Yeah, we'll get some fries for
Yeah,
the
like,
table.
like I said, he had some funny bits in there.
But yeah,
it
I
wasn't
never
terrible
saw
by any means.
Mulaney. I'm
Don't.
glad that I didn't. Yeah.
It looked terrible.
It
I
is
wasn't
terrible.
interested in it at all.
Mm-hmm.
I think his personality, I just don't see him being able to commit as an actor.
No.
I think his personality, what you see on stage of him, I think that's always going to be him.
Yeah.
And he even talks about it like people always think he's gay. Like that's kind of that's just who he is. I don't see him changing that for like a movie role. I think that's
He could just
gonna
be that though as an actor. Like that's fine.
I agree with you, Zach. I think you should stick to writing and stand up, because that's two things that he's knocked out of the park for me. So I don't know.
Yeah. You can try it.
Definitely don't do another
If you got the
sitcom.
right role, I could see him being in like a dramedy style role, I guess, as like a single New Yorker trying to find love or something like that, and
That's
just
a good
being kind of a
description.
downer and being super sarcastic. Like I guess I could
or
see him in
or
that
like more of
role.
a supporting role. Like I'm not like, man, John Mulaney's got to get back into acting, but I think he could do it. That
Yeah.
kind of role, or again, like a supporting role or something.
But yeah, I don't
know.
I think it's gotta definitely feed off of his general personality, because I'm just not gonna buy him as, over the top successful
Well,
comedian type of situation.
I would probably equate him to like an Aziz Ansari, because if you guys have ever seen Master of None, which is a Netflix
watch the
original,
first episode, didn't like it.
yeah, I thought that he was just kind of, it was a little bit too much, I don't know, just like him being outside of the character and him just kind of being that like the voice of all reason and just like commentating on what he would think in this life that he's portraying, as opposed to actually saying lines as a real character. So if that makes sense at all. But I think that, just like that, I don't know if Mulaney would be able to transition into an actual role and make it feel natural. So yeah, I agree with that. Who knows?
Michael, you're
Yeah.
up.
All right. Sounds good. Well, my person that has disappointed me recently is the actor Shia LaBeouf. So I don't know
call.
if you guys have been following. I have. Just like random
Do it!
crap he's been doing. Yeah.
Do
I've
it!
seen the green screen video, which was hilarious. If you have you seen that too, Zach?
Yeah, I've seen
Okay,
it.
good. But I just recently watched him do a 24-hour live stream of him just standing in an elevator, and like it was an elevator at a university in Europe, and he just talked to people that came into the elevator. He just talked to them, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I'll be in this elevator for 24 hours. And then all these college kids just came in. They're like, holy crap, it's Shia LaBeouf. And they just started talking to him about random crap or just like, hey, can you rap? And then this kid just like kept on pressuring him for like 10 minutes to rap. And he's like, nah, it would sound terrible. And he's like, no, seriously, man, just like spit something. And he's like, no. And I was just like, what are you doing? This sounds so
hard to watch.
Boring. But I still was drawn in and I watched it.
All 24 hours?
No, I watched probably about half an hour of it total in the background at work. So I didn't actually watch it. But, it was just so awkward and just boring.
He does a lot of experimental.
I'm just getting frustrated with him at this point. Yeah. So he's been doing all his abstract art pieces like, this like the paper bag over his face saying I'm not famous anymore. Or the green screen, just do it kind of stuff. So I don't know. He's just shown me so much potential in the past. He was great in Fury. Like I didn't even mind him in Holes and stuff like that. That he did earlier in his career. I think he's a super solid actor. I think Eagle Eye is super fun, even though it might not be as critically acclaimed of a movie. I still think he's a great actor. So honestly, if he would just shape up his career, like I think he would be one of my top like maybe 20 actors that are in right now. Just because I think he has that amount of potential. But, I was hoping that when he did another one that was like a 24-hour live stream where he was just sitting in a theater rewatching all the movies that he's been in. And he rented out a theater and people were able to like come in and just watch him with him. But he just sat there the whole time. He had like a sweatshirt on. He had some popcorn at the beginning, but he's like fighting back sleepiness towards the end and whatnot. But I was really hoping that him just watching all the movies that he's been in the past would just like help him to wake up his career and remind him what to do and not do in the future. But apparently that's not the case. So I hope he just finds what he's looking for. But I think he really just needs to kick himself in the butt and get his career in gear because he has a lot of potential.
Yeah.
But he's just been doing random crap.
I haven't seen Fury, but I've heard people talk about him in like Transformers and that he has all this potential, and I just don't believe people though. I don't believe he even has that much potential because people will come out and be like, well, in Lawless was crap. I hated that movie. It was boring. It was poorly acted. I thought they're like, he did a good job. I think his character, he always plays just a whiny character that is trying to be tough and trying to be cool and is falling short just because of who he is. and that bothers me. It's like, stop trying to force him into those roles. I should see Fury because I've heard he's done a good job in that and he actually sells it well. And I'm also a big fan of Michael Pena and Brad Pitt, so should see it. But I don't buy him. I've never bought into him. Eagle Eye is a solid movie, but not because of him. It's just an interesting action movie.
Well, it's definitely not Michelle Monaghan's acting ability in that movie.
No. Well, sort of speaking of Michelle Monaghan, I'm going to kind of go into mine, which is Val Kilmer. They were in Kiss Bang Bang together.
I was like, I see the connection.
Val Kilmer was Batman in the late 80s and early 90s. One of the guys that they thought, this is like our next huge star, and he was cross boundaries. He was comedy. His first movie was Top Secret, which has got like a cult following. He was also in Willow, which has got semi-cult following as well. But he crossed boundaries. He was funny. He could do action and he could do drama. And his first real recognizable movie is Top Gun. He's Iceman. He's sort of the antagonist to Tom Cruise in Goose, and is their Maverick.
He was a very wise person who made solid points.
Yeah. And then he went on to do some awesome movies in the early to mid 90s, Tombstone being one of them, as Doc Holliday. Oh. My favorite Western movie is Tombstone, and his portrayal of Doc Holliday is awesome and funny. Him and Kurt Russell worked really well together, I thought, in that movie. And then in 95, he came out with Heat, which is a crime drama. It's got Pacino and oh my gosh, how am I forgetting names here? De Niro. Pacino and De Niro, one of only two movies that they were in together. It's a great crime drama movie. De Niro runs this crew of bank robbers. Pacino's a cop chasing them down. He does a good job in that movie. He's not a main character. He doesn't have a lot of speaking lines, but I thought he did a good job in that movie. He's a good secondary character. Obviously, he was Batman in a terrible Batman movie, but he was Batman nonetheless. You don't get cast as Batman unless you're a decent-sized name. And then it just kind of goes downhill from there, to be honest. He did very little between 95 and 2000. He was Moses in The Prince of Egypt, if you guys remember that.
Oh, I didn't know that.
He was also in The Ghost in the Darkness, which I enjoy as a movie, but it's definitely not a critically acclaimed movie. In 2000, he was in Red Planet, another movie that I liked, but critically not a very good movie. And then he wasn't in a whole lot until mid-2000s. He was in Kiss Kiss Bang Bang in 2005, and then he was in Deja Vu in 2006. Deja Vu, he was a pretty minor character. Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, he wasn't the main character, Robert Downey Jr. I still liked him. He was funny in Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. He was a good humor base, and ever since then, pretty much nothing. Since 2005, there's probably a handful of movies you guys would recognize the names of, but I doubt you've ever seen.
Oh, 10 Commandments, the musical. Okay, yeah.
He was in the he was a voice in the Planes movie.
Oh.
He's recently been a voice on Robot Chicken and Psych. So the reason I bring him up, though, is I list off these movies, but I haven't said like why he's gone downhill. Apparently, he's just horrible to work with. He's always been terrible to work with. He's one of those guys that stereotypically stays in his room or whatever and won't come out until his demands are met. For Batman, what was that? Forever?
Yeah.
He actually got into a fight with Joel Schumacher and punched him in the face at one point in time, apparently.
Well,
so he's just burned bridge after bridge, and nobody's willing to work with him anymore. And so a good actor that can cross genres has been relegated to crappy voice work and B and C rate movies because he's just been a douchebag to everyone that he's run into. And now he looks like a pumpkin. So
that's what you get.
He's gotten fat.
You be a douchebag to people, you're gonna look like a pumpkin.
yeah.
So
That's what happens.
So I've always liked him because he is that awesome mixture of action, comedy, and a lot of stuff, and he's got a good sarcastic humor. But sorry, bro, you actually, even in Hollywood, you got to treat people okay, apparently. So
You don't even have to treat them well. Just treat them okay.
Okay, just don't punch people in the
Which is
face.
below average.
Yeah.
That should be easier to do.
That's mine. We're gonna wrap up. We're closer to on time than I thought we were going to be, based on how long we're going on some of the earlier stuff. Anyways, we're going to wrap up. We're going to make it normal that we wrap up with what you watching. Ben, what are you watching right now?
What am I watching? I am watching Cowboy Bebop, which is an anime. Cowboy Bebop is a very critically acclaimed show from Japan. It's a space western. What's interesting about it doesn't really follow a story per se. Like each episode is kind of, they're bounty hunters, and each episode is them trying to find a bounty.
So it's like a lot of cartoons, even like American cartoons, where it has a general overarching story, but every single episode kind of starts on its own type of situation.
Kind of,
but not really. I don't know.
I suppose a little bit.
I've seen bits and pieces, but I don't think I've ever watched.
Music is fantastic. Yeah, really great show.
I never watch things with Bebop in the title.
How many times have you seen it?
I saw 20 of the 25, I haven't seen the last like 4 episodes, and that was the only time I saw them. That was years ago.
I very much want to get into anime, and I just can't. I tried to watch Attack on Titan, couldn't watch it. I tried to watch.
It can depend on if it's dubbed or subbed. Sometimes the dub is just terrible, and you can't do it.
Tried to watch Full Metal Alchemist. Didn't do it.
I want to watch Ghost in the Shell before that movie comes out.
I've seen Ghost in the Shell. The problem is I took a nap and woke up, and then I never watched it again. So I saw the beginning, and then I kind of saw the end, and I was like, okay, I could see myself getting into that, and then I never watched it.
And I just finished Fuller House. That's what I was watching until I finished.
I actually really liked Afro Samurai, and everybody's like, "Why'd you like that? There's so much better anime." And I'm like, I don't know. I liked Afro Samurai. For some reason, Samuel L. Jackson swinging a sword around and killing people with a giant afro was appealing to me.
Oh, yeah. And the 100.
Always.
That's a good show too.
I'm
watching
almost started watching that today.
I'm behind like 2 or 3 seasons, but it's a really good show. It starts off kind of rough, very sort of CW, like a bunch of young people hooking up with each other. But after like 3 or 4 episodes, well, because like you take a bunch of like prisoners that are high schoolers and you put them down in a planet where there's no adult supervision on a space station.
Okay,
and then they're trying to see if the Earth is habitable again, so they send the prisoners down. And then it gets like Lord of the Flies-ish, and it gets really good. Season 2 is very, very good, and season 3 has been pretty good as well. So
and then watch at the end they're all in purgatory.
Wait,
mixing, no, that's Inception.
Mixing Lost and Inception.
I don't know the theme.
Everybody took that Inception sounder though. Do you guys notice that? Even now, still. Like, you watch a trailer and
Ghostbusters trailer.
What I've noticed now, though, is a lot of people are doing the Revenant sort of thing, like the beating heart. Remember that one Revenant trailer, which is the heartbeats?
Him breathing.
I've seen a couple of trailers do that with music.
Everybody.
That got intense with you just doing that.
Wow. I know, right?
We should do a full, 40-minute episode of us just breathing heavily.
Yeah, I'd listen to that. Yeah.
It's artwork, Michael.
Sure it is.
What have you been watching?
Amongst my normal stuff that I'm going through, I recently started watching the IT Crowd, so that is
good show.
One that I've always tried to watch, and I always thought would be funny, and it has been confirmed. I like it
English?
a lot. Yes, it is British.
It gets
sitcom.
a little zany at the end.
Yeah,
but it is quite hilarious.
It's funny. I really do like it.
Nice screensaver.
But the 2 that I really do actually like that I've gotten into recently are 2 Netflix original cooking shows. I know I'm kind of going off book here, but so the Netflix series Cooked and Chef's Table. And I think Cooked is really interesting. It's not amazing, but it really just helps to recenter, just like a lot of other food documentaries do, just recenter you on like making your own food instead of like getting McDonald's or something like that.
I don't do that very often.
I didn't mean to
and
be
I like to cook.
Too personal of a jab.
No one
I
got
thought
McDonald's
about getting
here
Cane's today, so I don't know. But it was just really interesting because in Cooked they were basically, a couple different episodes and they're all like fire or water, and they did like these different things like earth. Yeah, basically what they did. And they were just like, hey, like let's get back to the primal way that we used to, like, cooking separates us from animals is the way that they said it. And they were just like, this is what makes us human, and these are the different ways that we cook foods in these different cultures.
I love it.
It's really cool.
Anybody says this is what separates us from the animals, because like there's one thing.
Yeah, exactly.
It's cooking.
Well, no other animals actually cook their food. They just eat it raw. So technically, yes, that is one thing. But anyways, then the other one I really liked was Chef's Table, and that was really interesting. So Chef's Table was it was 6 episodes, and it basically just took a look at one chef every episode from like a different place, different culture, and it was just so interesting to see the different like methods or backgrounds or experiences or flavors that the chef was trying to put together to make their restaurants happen. And the way that they
does sound interesting.
The way that they like shop for their food, the way that they, just kind of tried to figure out different ways of making food. It was really interesting. So just like Ratatouille made me super hungry watching both of these shows.
That's always been my problem with those kind of TV
so
shows. It's not that I'm not interested in them. It's just that I gotta do stuff.
But it wasn't
I
like
gotta go to the grocery store.
Like when
something.
I watch
adult.
Man versus Food or Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives, it's just like I get so ravenous. I'm like, I need food right now. Like I need to make something right the heck now.
Mike
like I can't.
Borderline zombie.
Yeah, I get hangry real quick. But this one was more like, oh man, like when I get home today, like from work or wherever, like I want to cook a steak or something like that. I want to do it right, and I want to like try to figure out what flavor best works with this. So I don't know. It's a little artistic, little cool.
Gotta figure out my beer pairing.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. But it was just super intriguing. It was really well done, both of them.
Nice.
Good.
I'll check it out.
I feel like I had a better answer before I asked this question, and then my mind just kind of went blank. I'm always watching something. Always.
How I Met Your Mother.
And I actually have not rewatched How I Met Your Mother in a while.
How dare you?
I'm rewatching 30 Rock right now, and like I always, that's one show that I'll continue to go back to.
It's a funny show.
I always forget how funny it is, though.
It's true.
And how clever the writing is.
The Tina Fey shows, yeah.
Yeah, just
get you.
Tina Fey.
She's a funny lady.
Alec Baldwin is by far, as Jack, is by far my favorite character.
He does
just
a great
his
job.
little jabs to Liz Lemon, and their interactions and their relationship is just fabulous. And then Kenneth is awesome, and how we don't know how old he is. Like, he ranges between like 35 and literally like 200 years old. And the worst part of the show is the comedians in the show is Jenna and Tracy. They're I wouldn't say the worst part of the show, but they're out of the main storylines. They're the ones that don't intrigue me as much. Even guys like Frank, the writer Frank, who always has the weird hat, or some of the other writers. It's just, it gets me every single time. And that's a show that I pick up something new every time I watch it, basically. And I'm like, oh, that was clever.
Show.
Type of situation. So if you haven't seen it, anything written by Tina Fey that is a television show, I wouldn't really recommend going and seeing the movies that she's written, other than Mean Girls.
All right, calm
Mean
down.
Girls is solid.
Yeah.
Baby Mom was not a bad movie.
But anyways, that and Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt, very similar feel, although very different TV shows. But I would say something that I think people should watch if they haven't watched it, and I'm not watching it as much recently, but for a while there I was binging pretty hardcore on it, is Rick and Morty.
It's on the list.
Is that on Hulu or what is it on?
Season 1's on Hulu. You can watch
Yeah, I
a
don't
good
have Hulu.
chunk of season 2 on the website. Actually, season 1 and season 2 on Adult Swim website. So this is
interesting.
a fairly stereotypical Adult Swim type show. It's weird, but man, is it written well, and just the crazy situations they get into. So the general idea is that Rick is Morty's grandfather, and he is like a genius of the highest magnitude. And he's also an alcoholic and pretty insane. But like, he has technology where he can teleport himself to other worlds. And there's one episode where he shrinks down Morty into like a cell size and injects him into another dude's body to revive a theme park that they made in this gentleman's body. So just different craziness like that. And they go to worlds. One of my favorite episodes is they go to a world where they have a purge, and they're actually going through this. And it is a show, a cartoon for adults. So don't get this confused. It's somewhere, I was thinking about this, it's not South Park bad, but it's somewhere on the spectrum in between Family Guy and South Park for crudeness. So just to give you an idea, it's definitely not as much language and just ridiculous horribleness as South Park, but there's a lot of alcohol and a lot of just stupidity. And what makes the show great, though, is how clever they are with the ideas, because they're working with literally endless amounts of ideas in regards to the worlds that they can go to, because they travel to different dimensions and different worlds within the galaxy. So it's super funny, just really well done, at sometimes very disturbing, but an awesome show. Definitely recommend that people watch it if cartoon humor and just ridiculousness is your style of entertainment. So that's what I got. I wish I could tell people that I've been watching new movies recently, but I really haven't. So
wait for it. 10 Cloverfield Lane's coming out, then Batman vs Superman, then Daredevil, then...
Are we going to go see that? Are we going to go see Cloverfield? Anybody? You're going to be gone all week. Never mind. Not going with you.
I can't remember the last movie I watched in theaters. I think
Deadpool?
Deadpool was probably the last one I saw.
Yeah.
Solid.
Before that, probably Jupiter Ascending. So that's not true at all.
I like that you shoehorned it in at the end there.
Oh, yeah.
That's going to wrap it up for today. Thank you for tuning in. Cheap Shot Cinema. Again, I'm Zach.
I'm Mike.
I'm still Ben.
See, this is where we do the
Good night. Bye.